Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So yeah, in this video I'm going to be talking about 10 movies I've picked out that are some of my favorite 90s comedies that don't really get talked about all that much. You've probably seen all 10 of these movies if you're watching this video, but for me these are just some that don't really get enough light and don't really get enough praise, and I just have a fantastic time with all 10 of these films. So yeah, for me, the 90s, pretty much some of the staples I watched growing up as a kid. In terms of 90s comedies, were pretty much anything with Jim Carrey, like Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, the Ace Ventura movies, some early Adam Sandler movies like Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, and even some Mike Myers movies like Wayne's World 1 and 2 are some of my favorite movies, along with the first Austin Powers. But yeah, these are just 10 movies that I think just I don't really see people mention them that much. They do obviously get talked about um, sometimes, but for me, yeah, I just think these are great movies and should be hailed as some of the best 90s comedies, to be honest with you. So yeah, that being said, I'm gonna kick it off with the first two that I've got, and I think these two sort of fall in the same bracket for me, as they pretty much have identical stars in the movies. So yeah, the first two movies I've got are Black Sheep and Tommy Boy. Um, yeah, starring Chris Farley and David Spade. Yeah, these are just two great Chris Farley movies. Sadly, an actor who's no longer with us. Um, but yeah, he also pops up in maybe one or two other movies I've got on this list. But yeah, these for me are just so much fun. If you want like if you've got a couple of hours to kill, these are just easy movies to slap on and just switch your brain off and have a good time with them. And yeah, they'll provide you with a couple of chuckles. And yeah, they're just the definition of fun. They're not groundbreaking in any way, shape, or form, but yeah, they're really really a good surprise, and get a good chuckle. So yeah, you've got Tommy Boy, which is pretty much the premise of Chris Farley's the lazy layabout, and his dad's getting married, but actually there's a secret plot to like try and steal his fortune. And you've got Black Sheep, which is more of like a military based comedy. Gary Busey's in there as well, who is always a ton of fun whenever he's on screen. And so much so, I might actually upgrade these to Blu-ray eventually, because I've seen a nice sort of two-pack set that would go well with the Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore set I've got. So yeah, that is Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. So yeah, the next two movies I've got are again very sort of similar in the same vein, as they pretty much have the same stars involved with them. Um, and anyone who's a big fan of South Park will probably know these two movies. So yeah, we've got Orgasmo and Basketball, from the creators of South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker. And yeah, these films are hysterical. I'd probably give the edge to Orgasmo just a bit, as I find that movie a bit more funny and it's a bit more adult. Well, it certainly is a lot more adult based on the movie's premise. It's pretty much this this Mormon who gets spotted by pretty much recruiters for the porn industry, and they want him to become an actor. There's this sort of superhero called Orgasmo, and they want him to take up the mantle, playing him in all these movies. And you find out that the evil porn industry is just wants to take advantage of him and use him. And then you've got Basketball, which is more sort of focused on Matt Stone and Trey Parker as a partnership and how they invent this new sport. And yeah, these movies again are just absolutely hysterical, and I have so much fun with them. They're just barrels of laughs, deliver so much, in terms of humor, and I just have a fantastic time with them. They're just really, really great, and again, just don't see them get all that much love. Um, but yeah, they're not like Tommy Boy and Black Sheep. It's just they're not groundbreaking movies. They're just fun throwaway movies, and I have a great time with them. to say the least. And yeah, they are what they are. But yeah, they're just some that I find myself going back to a fair bit. So yeah, that is Basketball and Orgasmo. So next up, we've got another film which pretty much starred uh, Dan Aykroyd. Fresh off, well, in the 90's, and the obviously known for Ghostbusters and Blues Brothers. And I know this film does get a lot of hate. It's not the best film ever, but it's one I certainly enjoy. And this is one that I did grow up with. I remember having this movie taped off the TV and just playing it repeat when I was younger. And that movie is Coneheads. Yeah, I just have a fun time with it. I never saw the flaws when I was younger in this movie, but I can, as an adult, sort of see them. If the humor doesn't work for you, then the movie won't work for you, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, this has got so many familiar faces in it as well. Like I said, Chris Farley, David Spade's in this as well. Adam Sandler's got a small cameo in there as well. And yeah, it's just a fun movie about these two aliens that end up getting sort of stranded on Earth and have to live here and sort of adapt, and to sort of American life and American culture, and they end up having a daughter. And then they eventually get sort of called back to their home planet. I think it's Remula, and it just leads to this hysterical sequence where Dan Aykroyd has to fight this monster. And yeah, I just have a fun time with it. It's just harmless fun. The actors all have great chemistry in it as well. The main plot is sort of like the US government's trying to prove that they're aliens and sort of take them away. But yeah, like I said, it's fun, harmless fun, and I just have a good time with it. So yeah, that is Coneheads. Next up, we've got a movie. Well, speaking of Ghostbusters, this starring Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss, and yeah, I get a kick out of this movie. I just think it's wonderful. So we've got What About Bob, and yeah, this pretty much sort of sees Richard Dreyfuss play a bit of a different role than we used to see from him. He's kind of sort of the villain in this movie, to be honest. And yeah, he plays this sort of psychiatrist who's he's written this new book, and he sort of is wanting to take a bit of a vacation. And Bill Murray is the patient who just will not take a hint and won't leave him alone. And that is pretty much the movie. Every time Richard Dreyfuss is trying to get away, he just can't get away from Bill Murray's character, and he's just getting more and more and more wound up as this movie goes on, and bigger important things sort of happen in his life, and Bill Murray's there to just absolutely ruin them. But everyone sort of seems to fall in love with Bill Murray's character in the movie. Even Richard Dreyfuss's family sort of prefer him over Richard Dreyfuss, and it's just a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy this film. I love the setting as well when they go on the vacation. And you've got the woods and the lake. It just looks fantastic. And I just really, really dig this movie, and I have so much fun with it. So yeah, that is What About Bob. Next up, we've got another movie that sort of now this is one again that I grew up with. I really, really enjoy this film. It's not the best film, but I certainly really do like this movie, and it's one of Will Ferrell's earlier movies. So we've got A Night at the Roxbury. Yeah, I remember seeing the TV sketch with Chris Kattan, Will Ferrell, and Jim Carrey. And Chris Kattan and Will Ferrell both reprised their roles from that sketch in this movie. Sadly, Jim Carrey, for whatever reason, didn't show up in the film. But yeah, they sort of play these two brothers who just want to go clubbing constantly all the time. And yeah, that is pretty much the movie. There isn't really a villain to the film. I suppose you could say their parents sort of have plans for them, but they don't really want to sort of go along with them. But yeah, other than that, it's a fun comedy. I love the song that gets played in it, "What Is Love" by Hathaway. If you don't like that song, you're probably gonna hate this movie. But yeah, I really, really enjoy that song, and I just think it fits so well in the movie. As soon as you see the opening credits of the Paramount symbol, the song gets played, and it's just, if it's not for you, you aren't gonna like it. But for me, I get a kick out of it, and I really, really enjoy this film. And yeah, for being one of Will Ferrell's earlier movies, this movie's got a lot of competency to it, and I really, really do enjoy it and get a kick out of it. So yeah, that is A Night at the Roxbury. Next up, we've got again another movie where Chris Farley shows up. And this movie's got a fantastic cast: Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler. And that is Airheads. So yeah, the premise to this movie is sort of very simple. There's this rock band that all three of the actors are part of, and they're trying to get their tape sort of heard and played on the radio. And yeah, you've got sort of Judd Nelson playing the sort of head of the record company. And they end up sort of taking this radio station hostage, as it were, until they, so that they get some airplay. And that is basically the movie. All the police turn up and try to defuse the situation as it goes on and on and on, and it just builds up and escalates and gets out of hand. And that's the movie. It's just, yeah, it's very simple and very, very fun and humorous as well. I just really, really, again, get a kick out of this movie. And yeah, it sort of goes under the radar. This is one of Brendan Fraser's movies. I think he's more known for like The Mummy. But yeah, this one really, really sort of went under the radar for me. And I was a bit late to the party with this one. But I've got to say, I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that is Airheads. Next up, we've got a movie. I remember seeing the poster for this when I was a kid, seeing the video cover in Blockbusters, and I just knew it looked naughty from straight off the bat. But the movie itself isn't actually that naughty. Probably not until like the third act. But yeah, we've got Private Parts with Howard Stern, and yeah, I had no idea what this movie was about. I didn't really know who Howard Stern was when I was growing up. But yeah, I've got to say, I really like this movie. I really enjoy it. If you like movies that sort of set in radio stations, sort of similar to Airheads, I think you'll get a kick out of this movie. But yeah, I just think, Howard Stern was looking back, was a bit of a controversial sort of radio host, obviously, but he got ratings, and that's really sort of what the movie touches on, what it's really about. But yeah, it's very naughty, it's very rude in places, particularly towards the end. There's a scene involving a speaker, and how it's what he does to this speaker over the radio, and what happens to the woman. I won't say any more than that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I get a kick out of it. Paul Giamatti's great in this movie as the villain as well. Whenever he turns up in a movie, I just absolutely love him. He's a fantastic actor. And yeah, I just have fun with this film. It is what it is. Again, it's not breaking any ground, but yeah, I really, really enjoy it and get a kick out of it. So yeah, that is Private Parts. And the last movie on my list is probably the most 90s movie on this list. I absolutely adore the soundtrack to this film. I think the two leads have great chemistry, and yeah, I just think it's so much fun. So yeah, we've got Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. Yeah, sort of coming off of Friends fame, I think. They're starring obviously Lisa Kudrow. There's a lot of actors that show up in this film that were in Friends, sort of smaller roles, and yeah, it has that vibe to it. I think if you're not really a big fan of Friends, you probably aren't really going to like this film either, to be honest. But yeah, for me, I just absolutely adored it, and it's one of my favourites. Like I said, the soundtrack to it is absolutely phenomenal. It's just chock-a-block full of 90s and 80s tunes. And yeah, I just really, really enjoy it. It sort of just follows these two girls that get invited back to the high school reunion, and they don't really want people they went to school with to sort of find out what they are and what they're up to, because they're kind of like a little bit ashamed of it. So they sort of like invent these new personas, and yeah, it's just really, really fun. I sound like a broken record saying that, just because these movies are, and I just really, really enjoy them and get a fantastic kick out of them. And yeah, like I said, this movie really, really won me over. Great supporting cast in this too, with Alan Cummings and Janine Garofalo. Anything she's in, I'm a big fan of as well. Movies like, you know, The Cable Guy and Reality Bites. Yeah, it's just fun. It really is. I can't say much more about it than that. And yeah, that is Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. So yeah, those are just some 10 of my favourite sort of 90s comedies, as it were. And yeah, just movies I think sort of deserve a little bit more love. Like I said at the start of the video, you've probably seen all 10 of these movies, if that. And, you know, if they are for you, that's absolutely great. If they're not, that's absolutely fine too. But yeah, for me, these just are ones that sort of go under the radar quite a little bit. And yeah, just really, really get a kick out of them and really, really enjoy them. So yeah, those are my picks for the video, guys. And I'll just say thanks very much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.